How's it going, BFDers, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since you've seen my face, but fear not. I always come back. Thunderbolts is not a film I was excited to see. I'm sure that everyone has superhero fatigue, and even though there is a lineup of some exciting films coming out like Superman and Fantastic Four, we're all wondering, will they be any good? Well, I am here to say, I don't know. But, just like All Might in his final battle against All for One, the spark has been reignited. I now have hope. Walking out of a packed theater on opening night was refreshing. Laughing, having a good time, being sad. Heartbreak really did feel good in a place like that. I was thoroughly surprised at how much Thunderbolts did for me. I was thinking that these are a bunch of side characters. What do they have to offer? The answer is quite a lot, actually. There are 7 different main characters that need screen time and development, which is quite a lot, frankly. However, based on the nature of the plot, this ends up working. Each character is unique and brings something a little bit different to the table, even if they are all shooty, punchy guys. There are some not great things about the film, sure, but most films have a glaring flaw. Luckily, this go around, the flaw didn't really bother me too much. I have more positive things to say about Thunderbolts than negative things, and for long-time viewers, you know that's rare. So before I say those negative things, let's get into the positives, because I want you to see this movie in theaters. The story of Thunderbolts isn't too complicated. Valentine's Day Fontaine is on trial for essentially human trafficking. If you don't remember her, she's the chick that basically went around hiring like rejected heroes to do some shadow ops for her. She hired John Walker, Yelena, Ghost, and Taskmaster. Valentine's Day is now trying to get rid of all the evidence connected to that case. All of the evidence. Bucky, newly appointed congressman, wants to put Valentine's Day away. And Red Guardian is Yelena's dad, and also he wants to be a hero. After getting a call for one last job, Yelena goes to Valentine's Day black site place to stop somebody who is supposedly trying to rob her and catch the thief. Once she gets there, all the other Shadow Ops employees that I had mentioned earlier show up, and it turns out that Valentine's Day wants to clean up all the loose ends. Again, after a dope fight sequence, Bob, the Sentry, is woken up. Valentine's Day tries to torch all of them and fails. Valentine's Day recovers Sentry, aka Bob, who is a sad boy, and she manipulates him to do her bidding. The gang, aka Thunderbolts asterisk, like Bob, and don't like Valentine's Day. The rest of the film is them trying to save Bob and stop her. Like I said, it's not very complicated, but it works. You very quickly set up who all of these characters are and why they are all together and give them a common enemy. These characters are done so well, especially given their history. Yelena, like her sister, Black Widow, has done so much bad, which we see a few of the things she regrets. But, unlike Black Widow, she wasn't given the opportunity to clean her ledger from all the red. Here, she is given someone to relate to and care about, after she's lost everything else. Bucky doesn't get as much as we've already seen a lot of him, but he does get to be a leader instead of being sidelined by Captain America, Steve Rogers. He gets to make his own decisions about what is good and bad. Red Guardian, as cheerful and hopeful as ever, is still dealing with being a washed-up hero. His main role is a counter to Yelena's emotional state in the movie, and works well after his failures in his previous entry, the Black Widow movie. He is also the main comic relief of the film. He is a bumbling oaf who truly does care about the people around him. He is sort of like a better version of what Thor was trying to be in Love and Thunder. Ghost's character isn't someone I love, but she does get to do more good than bad. I don't really think she has a huge arc, but one thing that happens a few times is the group thinks she's leaving in a time of crisis, but she always ends up coming back. John Walker is the favorite of my group in this film. I disliked him in the Bucky show. It was hard watching him trying to replace Steve when there were two prime candidates there. I also understand that was sort of the point, but it just didn't quite sit right with me. And I didn't love his modern American soldiery personality. That is still present in Thunderbolts, but this go around it comes with some skeletons. He is angry and frustrated, and that is portrayed in everything he does, but by the end of the film, he's gentler and more understanding. Bob is also a very fun character. He is a dejected member of society who has no one. He is unstable, but still cheerful in some kind of way. He gives Yelena, and as a result, the other Thunderbolts, something to believe in. He becomes the literal personification of darkness that is inside and present in all of our main characters. That ultimately, besides the plot of course, is what unites the team. Except maybe Bucky, but again, he's already gotten a lot more development in other things. Every single one of the Thunderbolts has a hang-up. Yelena wants more out of life, but can't let go of what she's done. She says to Bob that all the sadness needs to be pushed down instead of facing it. This is what leads to her feeling so unfulfilled. She thinks she is a bad person, and therefore is. Red Guardian has been a bad father and doesn't know how to reconcile with Yelena, but we know that he cares because we see that he sees her light fading until he sees it getting brighter after she's found something to fight for. This gives him the courage to admit his failures and come closer to his daughter, and allows him to be the hero that he truly is. Ghost, again, I don't really know her deal, but basically she thinks she's cursed and will always be alone, but isn't. John Walker, again, love him in this film, is disappointed in himself, not only for failing at being Captain America, but at failing at being a husband and a father. You can see his rage in the way he moves and fights. The aggressiveness goes away throughout the film and is lifted off of his shoulders during the final confrontation. I have so much more to say about these characters, but I gotta move on. The combat choreography that we get in this film is so much fun, especially in the black site where everyone is introduced. Everyone has their own unique fighting style, from Yelena's quick, elaborate, and calculated movement to Ghost's shift and light attacks, to Taskmaster's unrelenting focus and mirrored movements. But the star again is John Walker. He is slow and tanky, forceful movements that carry oomph that we never really see with Steve Rogers. I think more than anyone, his physicality portrays who his character is. The way he reloads his gun and punches with all the force he can muster. Red Guardian is also fun. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to fight a whole lot, but when he does, he is definitely the tank of the group, just soaking up damage. I liked basically all of the humor in Thunderbolts. I know that opinion might be on the outskirts for some people, but I laughed at almost every joke. But that humor wasn't jokey or one-liners, but rather characters' genuine reactions to situation. It wasn't awkward humor either, but it was nice and silly. Red Guardian talking about the Thunderbolts soccer team, or saying that he'll sleep when he's dead. John Walker just being an ass, and Bob being like, sorry, I guess. This added so much depth to their characters in a way that's been missing for a while. I loved how the music in this film wasn't generic, action-y tunes, but rather something a bit slower and emotional. Of course, there were some times when the pace was picked up a little bit, but the slowing it down was quite nice. Also, the music was done by Sun Lux, and if you know what else that artist did, the music for one of my favorite films, leave a comment. Let's talk about the bad stuff. Thunderbolts is very front-loaded. Most of the best moments happen in like the first 5/8 of the film. After that, because of who Sentry is, it slows down. The action doesn't really do much, and most of the conflict is done through conversation. Basically, up until the group leaves to save Bob. The film was amazing. After Bucky agrees to help the gang, the momentum sort of slows down. There is still some interesting stuff happening with Valentine's Day and Bob, reminiscent of the manipulation of Anakin in Episode 3. Bob has doubts. Valentine's Day presents to be an authority and capitalizes on those doubts. Very similar relationships. The fighting also takes a bit of a back seat, except for one sequence that is actually rather cool. The Thunderbolts get whooped by Sentry. They split up, and then the Void shows up and just starts killing folk. The Thunderbolts really unite and truly get to be heroes. The climax of the film, the big battle for a superhero movie, is diluted down to essentially a conversation. There's no overcoming any physical barrier, which is fine, but it could have been more exciting, or I don't know, like more interactive. They don't do much to save the day except their shortcomings, which is a good message, but it just left me a little whelmed. Most of it, not all of the moments that are thematic, are strictly conversational. Every time Yelena is saying that she is going through something, she is talking about it, and more unfortunately, she is saying how she feels. She literally says, "I'm sad and have nothing to live for." Then when she fails to save Bob in the second half of the film, again, she almost quite literally says, "I failed and I feel bad about it." The lines and responses are relatively well written, but the fact that it was said and wasn't shown is a failure on the script's part. The climax sequence was our characters seeing things that they have done and being like, "Dang, I guess I did do that." And then they all hug it out. Anyway, the rest of the film is good enough for me to give it a little leeway, but it results in a lackluster emotional climax. It was serviceable. I want to shout out a few of my favorite moments before I give up my final score. When that one character got popped, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe they just did that. And Yelena's like, yep, that's what happens, and that's what'll probably happen to us. Every time John Walker fights, it's awesome. When Bucky shows up, he literally pulls up like the Terminator, glasses on, right in the hog, he grabs a shotgun, does the flip, and busts some bad guys. Then there's one moment where the Red Guardian takes a massive slab of building to his back, and he just takes it, saving this little girl and becoming the hero he knows he truly is. And then in that same instant, that little girl that we just saw get saved gets Nagasaki'd. Yeah, it's rough. Holy shit, and that was wild. I literally was like, ugh! For like 10 seconds because I didn't know what to do. Also, I laughed at pretty much every funny thing. Sorry. Overall, Thunderbolts was a great time, and I hope that Disney and the MCU can see this and understand that this is what audiences want, just good films with heart. Was it perfect? No. But was it good? Yeah. Everything I've said brings this score of Thunderbolts to a 7 out of 10. A solid film and worth a watch on the big screen. Well, that's all I've got for today, folks. If you've seen it, drop a comment down below what you thought, and if you haven't, go out and see it. Make sure you like and subscribe to catch all of my random uploads. And until next time, I've been Jake, and I have been since at least last Thursday, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.